Mr. Dugan.
Mr. Dugan!
What is it, baby?
No!
Remember when a women's baseball movie sounded like something the studio would quietly dump in August, and then A League of Their Own showed up and became the sports movie you and your friends can still quote start to finish? In 1992, Penny Marshall put Tom Hanks, Geena Davis, Lori Petty, Madonna, and Rosie O'Donnell in the same dugout, and somehow turned a World War II history lesson into one of the most rewatchable movies ever made. On the surface, it's about the Rockford Peaches and the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, but underneath, it's about exhaustion, unfair expectations, accidental sisterhood, and trying not to fall apart in a world that treats feelings like a technical foul. Today, we're counting down 15 weird facts you didn't know about A League of Their Own, the casting almost, the brutal training, the TV spinoff everyone forgot, and the 4-hour version where things between Jimmy and Dottie get a little more complicated. Now, before we dive in, hit like, subscribe to Remember When for more deep dives into the movies we grew up on, and share this with a friend who still gets emotional during that final game. Now, let's play ball with number 15. The casting almost looked completely different. The cast of A League of Their Own feels so locked in, it's hard to imagine anyone else in those uniforms, but the version Penny Marshall almost made had a totally different lineup. Penny's first Dottie wish list started with Demi Moore. That fell apart fast once Demi was pregnant with her and then husband Bruce Willis's second child. Enter Deborah Winger. She didn't just sign a contract, she reportedly trained with the Chicago Cubs for months to sell the ball player thing. Then Madonna got cast as All the Way May, and Winger decided she was out. Winger felt like the Material Girl was a singer, not an actor, and would take away some of the validity of the movie. So just like that, the film lost its lead. That's when Geena Davis comes in like a ringer. She meets with Penny, picks up a glove, and suddenly, she's Dottie.
Where are you going?
A roadhouse called the Suds Bucket.
No, I'm married.
Oh, come on, Dottie. You ain't on the farm anymore. Live a little bit.
It's one of those, oh right, it was always supposed to be her casting flips that almost didn't happen. Some parts were locked from day one though. The cranky scout Ernie Capadino was written specifically for John Lovitz. I mean, who else is built to deliver that many insults per minute? And when the actor originally cast as league owner Walter Harvey bailed, Penny never held a big new casting search. She just called her brother, Gary Marshall, and told him he was now the chocolate bar king paying for the whole league. So the next time you watch Geena Davis catch, throw, and basically run the diamond, remember you're looking at the third version of Dottie Hinson. Somehow the stars, the schedules, and the sibling favors all lined up, and it's hard to believe any other version would have worked half as well. Number 14, 2,000 women auditioned and had to train like real ball players. Now, most sports movies cast whoever looks good in a uniform and hope nobody notices they throw like they're swatting a fly. A League of Their Own did not play that game. Penny Marshall held open tryouts and around 2,000 women showed up. Not just actresses, athletes, softball players, anyone who thought they could hack it in a skirt and cleats. And here's the twist, a lot of them never even touched a script. They started with baseball drills. If you couldn't catch, throw, or at least fake not being terrified of a fly ball, you weren't getting anywhere near Rockford. Once the roster was set, things got even more intense. The cast went through legit training of long days of hitting, fielding, and running drills, so the game footage didn't look like a beer league picnic. By the time cameras rolled, they were running real plays and really getting banged up. This wasn't stand there and let the editor save you, this was congrats, you booked a movie, also welcome to boot camp hell. Number 13, Rosie and Geena's show-off moments were 100% real. You know those moments in sports movies where something so slick happens you assume there has to be a camera trick involved? No, A League of Their Own looked at that and said, let's actually do it. First up was Dottie's behind the back catch on the foul pop. That was supposed to be a stunt double's big hero moment, except the double couldn't land it, so Geena Davis tried it herself and called it clean. That's the take that made the movie.
Oh, high foul pop, it's coming back. Unbelievable ball.
Then there's Doris firing 2 baseballs at 2 different catchers at the same time. No split screens, no editing cheat, Rosie O'Donnell learned that move on set from a real former AAGPBL player and pulled it off for real. Turns out the loudmouth comic could also throw a little bit of heat. Rosie originally came in to audition for Marla, but Cavanagh owned that role so completely that the writers created Doris just for Rosie. When your backup plan is invent a whole new character, you know the casting worked. Number 12, older Dottie isn't Geena in makeup, but you still hear her. For years, a lot of us assumed the older version of Dottie at the Hall of Fame was just Geena Davis in heavy old age makeup, but it wasn't.
Honey, I'm not comfortable about this. I'm not really part of it. It was never that important to me. It was just something I did.
The movie pulled a little casting magic trick that most viewers never noticed. Older Dottie is actually played by actress Lynn Cartwright. She wasn't some random pick either. Her bone structure and expressions lined up with Geena's so well that when she puts on the Rockford Peaches cap and smiles, your brain just goes, yeah, that's Dottie. There was no CGI de-aging, no digital wizardry, it was just really smart casting. There was one snag though. Cartwright's natural voice was lower and raspier than Geena's, so the filmmakers pulled a little movie magic on it. Cartwright did all the physical performance, but when it came time for dialogue, they dubbed in Geena Davis. So in that Cooperstown sequence, you're watching Lynn and hearing Geena. It's a tag team Dottie. Most viewers never questioned it. They just assumed makeup and time did the work, but instead, it was sharp casting, a sneaky dub, and the kind of quiet trick you only notice when someone ruins it for you on a behind-the-scenes featurette or some random YouTube video like this. Number 11, the movie almost turned Jimmy and Dottie into something more. In the finished film, Jimmy and Dottie have this perfect middle line. Grumpy coach, superstar catcher, tons of tension, tons of respect, and just enough warmth that you can ship it in your head if you really want to. Early cuts of the movie push that line a lot harder. There was a full Jimmy-Dottie kiss at one point. Not a joke or a dream, an actual we might be crossing into something else here moment. Combine that with extra scenes of them bonding and you get a very different vibe. Dottie isn't just dealing with Kit, the league, and her husband overseas, she's also wrestling with feelings for the cranky ex-slugger in the dugout. That one choice changes everything. Leaving the team, going back to the farm, seeing Jimmy again years later in Cooperstown. In that version, every look between them carries extra weight. In the end, Penny Marshall cut the kiss and kept their relationship in the sweet spot with deep connection, shared respect, and one of the great almost something more dynamics in sports movies, without actually making it a soap opera. Number 10, there's no crying in baseball, started in a story meeting and never shut up. Every great movie gets one line that escapes into the wild and refuses to come back. For A League of Their Own, it's not even close. There's no crying in baseball.
Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
Tom Hanks delivers it like Jimmy Duggan's entire soul has been personally offended by a single tear. It's loud, it's mean, it's technically not true in any sport with children in it, and it instantly welded itself to the culture. But it didn't come out of nowhere. Writers Lowell Gans and Babaloo Mandel built the entire tirade off a real moment they witnessed in Hollywood. They were in a story meeting where a woman director started crying and a producer muttered under his breath, "What is this crying? Did Howard Hawks ever cry at a meeting?" Gans and Mandel took that awful little comment, twisted it, and turned it into Jimmy Duggan unloading on poor Evelyn for missing the cutoff man. They riffed out the whole rant, and once Tom Hanks got a hold of it, the scene turned into sports movie history. From there, the line stopped belonging to the film. Coaches quoted it, parents screamed it at kids' games, and it showed up on t-shirts, posters, and every greatest movie quotes list that needed at least one sports pick. Some dialogue stays on the page. This one was born in a toxic meeting, fixed by two writers, supercharged by Tom Hanks, and then spent the next 3 decades being screamed at Little League games by dads who completely missed the point. Number 9, slip and slides, wool skirts, and real bruises. The shoot actually hurt. On the surface, A League of Their Own is a feel-good baseball movie. On set, it was more of a contact sport.
Pops it up, foul. Henson should have no trouble with this. She's under it. Uncle Elmore's socks. What did she do?
To teach sliding, the trainers had the cast practice on a slip and slide, which sounds fun, until you remember they were full-grown adults sprinting and hurling themselves onto wet plastic like it was a suburban backyard in 1978. The result was 3 concussions. 3 from a children's toy. The slip and slide went back to being a summer activity and stopped being a professional training equipment real fast. Then there were the uniforms. They were sandpaper. The women were really sliding in those dresses on real dirt with bare legs. Renee Coleman, who played Alice, took such a brutal slide she ended up with a giant bruise on her thigh. Penny Marshall thought it looked so nasty, she put it in the movie. That's not makeup, that's an actual workplace injury immortalized on film. So when people say this film captures the spirit of the league, they're right. It hurt to be a peach. Number 8, Tom Hanks ate his way into Jimmy Duggan and Penny controlled his grossest gag. Jimmy Duggan is a washed-up legend with a hangover for a personality. Tom Hanks could have just acted like he'd lost a step, but instead, he went method in the least glamorous way possible. He ate. Hanks has said he deliberately put on weight, leaning hard into ribs, desserts, and general ballpark food so he'd look like a guy who'd spent too many years at the bottom of a bottle and the top of the snack bar. It worked. Jimmy looks like he's one bad inning away from a heartburn commercial. And then there's the bathroom scene. You know which one I'm talking about.
Do something, mate.
Jimmy finally staggers into the locker room and unleashes the world's longest pee while the women stand there in horror. That moment was carefully engineered gross out. Penny Marshall stood off camera with a hose and a bucket, literally controlling the stream so it went on just long enough to be funny, then uncomfortable, then funny again. Hank sold the ex-ball player, but Penny, she sold the bladder. Alright everyone, it's time for Take Me Out to the Ball Game because this is the 7th inning stretch break. When did A League of Their Own first enter your world? Was it opening weekend at the theater, a taped-off TV VHS, or one of those cable marathons you just couldn't stop watching? Drop your story in the comments below, and while you're there, tap like and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the movies we grew up with. Alright, grab your Cracker Jacks because it's time to get back into it with number 7. A calf was born during the barn scene and got named after Penny. A lot of weird things can happen on a movie set. A League of Their Own is one of the few where a live birth is on the list. During the barn scene where Scout Ernie Capadino checks out Dottie and Kit playing ball, the production was filming on a real farm.
She's a pitcher. She just didn't pitch today because she pitched the day before.
Well, thanks for that extra special glimpse into her life. I want you. You I saw, you I like. Now, what do you say? There's a train leaving for Chicago tomorrow.
While John Lovitz is complaining and scouting future peaches, a cow just off camera goes into labor. A calf is born during the scene for real, no special effects. Just nature doing its thing while the cameras roll. The newborn calf starts bawling its head off because, of course it does, and Lovitz, staying in character as the world's crankiest scout, snaps at the noise, having no idea he's yelling at a baby cow that literally just entered existence. The farm owners later named the calf Penny after Penny Marshall, which is fair. If someone directed your first day on Earth, they'd probably slap their name on you as well. Number 6, the Rockford Peaches were real, but their big movie showdown wasn't. One of the sneaky pleasures of A League of Their Own is that it feels like a true story, and parts of it are. But if you walked away thinking the Rockford Peaches really lost a World Series because Dottie dropped the ball on purpose, not quite. The Rockford Peaches were absolutely real. They played in the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League for all 12 seasons that the league existed, and they won multiple championships. They were a legit powerhouse, not just some cute name cooked up by a screenwriter who liked fruit. The movie borrows that reputation and slaps it onto a completely fictional final showdown. In real life, the first AAGPBL championship in 1943 was Racine Bells versus Kenosha Comets. No Rockford. Definitely no dramatic sister-on-sister grudge match at the plate, and while Dottie Hinson is loosely inspired by real Peaches star Dottie Kamenshek, the whole big sister versus little sister traded mid-season emotional showdown at home plate storyline is pure Hollywood. So the league was real, the stakes were real, but the final game you cried over, that was studio invention, but a damn effective one at that. Number 5, the charm school rules and ladylike code were very, very real. The Charm School montage in A League of Their Own is one of those scenes that feels like comedy. Posture lessons, walking with books on your head, learning how to sit like you're in a tea room instead of a dugout. The joke is, look how ridiculous this is. The punchline, however, is, this wasn't a joke. The real All-American Girls Professional Baseball League had strict rules about how its players looked and behaved. We're talking full-on ladylike code. Skirts, makeup, no smoking or drinking in public, no unseemly behavior, and mandatory charm school sessions to make sure you could slide into second and into polite society. The league wanted to prove women could be athletes without threatening anyone's delicate idea of femininity. So players went from bruising their legs on dirt one day to sitting through lessons on posture and etiquette the next. Play hard, then learn which fork to use. The movie leans into the absurdity, but it's not exaggerating. The same organization that asked you to dive for line drives also wanted you to look ready for a dinner party immediately after. Number 4, from box office hit to misfired spinoff to streaming reinvention. Some movies get one shot and vanish. A League of Their Own quietly turned into a whole mini franchise while you were busy yelling at umpires. First came the 1992 film. It was a solid hit, great word of mouth, and instant cable rewatch staple. Then TV executives did what TV executives do. They tried to squeeze more innings out of it. In 1993, CBS launched A League of Their Own TV series. Same basic premise, women's pro baseball in the 40s. Megan Cavanagh came back as Marla, Tracy Reiner returned as Betty Spaghetti, and the network clearly thought they had a sure thing.
But this is a delicate matter.
We love you, Mr. Harvey.
You're May, aren't you?
Yeah, and that's more than a name. It's an attitude.
They did not have a sure thing. CBS pulled it after 3 episodes. 3! They eventually burned off the remaining episodes later that year, but by then, nobody was watching. The series was the TV equivalent of a pop fly. Up, down, gone. Somewhere, a network executive is still insisting the time slot was the problem, but decades later, the idea got another at-bat with Amazon's 2022 streaming series. Instead of rehashing Dottie and Kit's story, the new version built a wider world around the AAGPBL. New characters, new storylines, and themes the original movie only had time to hint at. Critics loved it, audiences found it, and Amazon canceled it after 1 season anyway, because streaming platforms and beloved baseball properties apparently had the same relationship as Charlie Brown and that football. So that little baseball movie quietly spawned a flop TV spinoff and a critically acclaimed streaming series that also got the axe. The All-American Girls Professional Baseball League keeps getting adapted and networks keep fumbling the bag. At this point, the franchise has more cancellations than Kit had strikeouts. Number 3, Wrigley Field and 2 old ballparks rebuilt 1940s baseball. There's a lot of period movies that cheat their locations with clever angles and some set dressing, but A League of Their Own decided to just go straight to the source. The big tryout sequence at Harvey Field, where all the women line up and show off their stuff, that's Wrigley Field in Chicago. No CGI, no fake stadium, just actual Wrigley, with a new name slapped on it for legal reasons and story convenience. The Rockford Peaches home games were shot at League Stadium in Huntingburg, Indiana, a small ballpark with just the right old-timey vibe. And when it was time for the World Series, production moved to Boss Field in Evansville, Indiana, another real vintage park that had already survived decades of minor league play. The result is a movie that doesn't just say it's in the 40s. The parks look like places where generations of fans actually sat in wooden seats, roasted in the sun, and argued about batting averages. You can smell the history and the hot dogs. Number 2, the Hall of Fame ending uses real AAGPBL players as extras. The Hall of Fame ending in A League of Their Own hits you right in the nostalgia glands. Dottie walks into the exhibit, spots familiar faces, and suddenly the whole movie folds into real history. And a lot of those faces, they are real history. Those older women wandering around the Cooperstown exhibit at the end aren't just background extras, they're actual former players from the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League.
Take a picture of the whole team, the original Peaches. Hey, come on. Okay.
The older versions of the Rockford Peaches characters are played by actresses, but the rest of those women, chatting, looking at photos, and soaking it in, are women who really played in the league back in the day. It turns the ending into more than just a sweet epilogue. It's a stealth reunion. The film that brought their story back into the spotlight hands the frame over to the women who actually lived it, even if most viewers never realized who they were watching. You come for the nostalgia and you leave having accidentally watched a documentary shot inside a fictional ending. Number 1. The 4-hour cut, deleted kisses, bar bets, and a darker Marla storyline. You know how the finished A League of Their Own feels. It's warm, funny, emotional, and just heavy enough to land, but light enough to rewatch 100 times. Now imagine a version that's longer, messier, and noticeably darker, because that version exists, or at least it did. Penny Marshall's early cut reportedly ran close to 4 hours. In that version, the Suds Bucket bar sequence was bigger, with Kit making a bet that a guy couldn't get a hit off her in exchange for some time in his truck, and Jimmy quietly coaching her through striking him out. It was an earlier, clearer turning point where he actually starts giving a damn about his team. Marla Hooch's story also went heavier. Reports from that early version talk about a pregnancy and guilt arc, giving her way more emotional weight than the final cut shows. Marla wasn't just comic relief with a bat, she was also dealing with real consequences on and off the field. The movie also leaned harder into 1940s morality. There were extra scenes with Dottie warning Kit that May was a bad influence, and dialogue about sex and respectability that made the era's hang-ups about good girls and bad girls a lot sharper. All of that gave the film a more judgmental edge around romance and behavior. Somewhere inside that 4-hour assembly is an alternate League of Their Own that plays less like a warm hangout movie and more like a messy, complicated wartime drama. We just got the version that fits between commercial breaks. And there you have it, 15 weird facts about A League of Their Own. Which one surprised you the most? Is it the casting carousel, the slip and slide concussions, or the idea that there's a 4-hour cut sitting in some editing memory? Drop your favorite in the comments, share this with a friend who still yells "there's no crying in baseball" at completely inappropriate times, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more trips back to the movies that raised us. Until next time, this is Remember When.